Okay, I'm going to refute some of Kyle's claims. The first one being that opening marijuana dispensary clinics is not going to be sufficient to stop the drug cartel. Which actually I think is false. I can't physically picture the drug cartel coming over here and opening up shop, a little sign out. We're open for business, we're gonna pay taxes. That's not their deal. They're underground so that they can charge, expensive amount. If it's legal, they're not gonna be there. It's legal in Canada, it's not there. It's in Mexico, actually, they decriminalized it, and so it's less. So I think it's like 1 ounce, and it's not illegal. So you can actually carry that around. And so they're shipping it here where it's going to cost more, and because people want it, so they can't have it. And then Kyle also mentioned that it leads to addiction, which is also false. Okay, despite the 70 years of criminal prohibition, marijuana still remains widely popular among Americans, with over 102 million Americans, that's 41% of the population, admitting that they've used it during their lifetime. And then 26 million, or 10%, admit to have using it in the past year, but only 15 million, which is 6%, admit that they use it on a regular basis. So 6% of the total population, I guess you could say, is addicted, and that's not sufficient amount of people to say that marijuana is an addictive drug. They just enjoy it as a leisure activity. Kyle also mentioned that marijuana is a gateway drug for other drugs, which is also false. In an article from the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, states that fewer than 15% of adults have ever tried cocaine, which is the second most popular illicit drug, and fewer than 2% have ever tried heroin. So there's so much for marijuana's gateway effect. It's not true. And then Kyle mentioned increased risk of heart attack and other medical problems, and it's actually not true. It actually turns out that there are a lot of benefits to smoking marijuana. There was one study that shows that it actually has benefits for cancer. It states here that there's a lot of unfounded rhetoric that states smoking pot can cause lung cancer because you're inhaling smoke like cigarettes, like Kyle was saying, but this simply isn't true. Cigarette smoke causes cancer because the tobacco is radiated where marijuana isn't. In fact, the American Association for Cancer Research has found marijuana actually works to slow down tumor growth in the lungs, breast, and brain considerably. In addition, marijuana is a muscle relaxant and has anti-spasmodic qualities, which have proven to be very effective treatment of seizures. There are actually countless cases of people suffering from seizures that have only been able to function better through the use of marijuana. Similar to that, a study in Berlin by Dr. Christian Mueller of Hanover Medical College found, just that like marijuana can treat seizures and multiple sclerosis, marijuana's effects slow down the tics in those suffering from Tourette's and obsessive neurological symptoms in people with OCD. So his claim that it causes a heart attack is actually false. There's actually a lot of medical benefits to being able to smoke marijuana. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is take some time to substantiate some of Jason's claims. Okay, just about the tax revenue. Bloomberg Businessweek did investigate the cost of government regulated marijuana through current operations in Canada. From that study, they found that government-sponsored marijuana is roughly 33 cents a gram. Currently, U.S. consumers pay at least $10 per gram retail for illegal marijuana. If the cost of retailing and distribution is the same as for legal tobacco cigarettes, about 10 cents a gram, then selling the legal product at exactly the same price as on the streets today, $10 a gram, could raise 40 to 100 billion in new revenue. The government would simply be transferring revenue from organized crime to the public purse. In addition to the potential revenue gained from the taxation of marijuana, it's important to recognize key factors of cost that would no longer be required. So we can show that the current cost of keeping marijuana illegal is equal to the cost of active law enforcement, the cost of prosecution and defense of accused offenders, the cost of incarceration of convicted offenders, and the cost of foster care and social services for children of incarcerated offenders. So calculations based on the recent Justice Department's Bureau of Justice Statistics report suggests that at any one time, 59,000 prisoners charged with or convicted of violating marijuana, making up 3.3% of the total incarcerated population, are behind bars, at a total cost to the taxpayers of some 1.2 billion per year. In addition, according to William Whistler, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Counter Narcotics and Global Threats, the Department of Defense increased its counter narcotics supports for Mexico this fiscal year 2011 to over 50 million. This is a substantial increase from the 34.5 million spent in 2009. And before 2009, the DoD allocated only 3 million in U.S. taxpayer funds for Mexican counter-narcotic activities. Furthermore, the Department of Defense assists in the addition of funds from the State Department, providing training and equipment to Mexican law enforcement to the tune of another 500 million a year appropriated from U.S. taxpayers. So all of these costs would be eliminated if legalization of marijuana is passed, in addition to new tax revenue. And then regarding the drug dealers, balancepolitics.org states that the biggest opponents of legalizing drugs are actually the drug dealers themselves. They make enormous sums of money because of the absence of competition and monstrous street prices that come from increased risk. Legalization would lower prices and open competition. Thus, drug cartels will lose all or most of their business. In addition, the latest figures released by the Mexican government on the number of dead during its 4.5-year military-led crackdown on organized crime came in January.
We got to cut you off. You're well over time.
All right.